artisan. In a simple form, part of it, we are an institution that makes sure that the artisan in the right trade have been trained, right? We promote skills development. Having said that, we have 2 state-of-art in Johannesburg and in Free State, to be precise. So
In the Free State?
In the Free State, yes. Welcome, to be precise. And the reason why I'm saying, I think it's a fit for purpose. We were strategically having understanding of what we wanted to get out of our youth. And you've mentioned something very profound in terms of unemployment is very high.
Yes.
But maybe back to your question, I think it's very imperative that we understand why career proof are important currently. So we call them future proof careers. What are those? So there's a distinctions between generally how we grow up, going to study any other program that we think by then we are told by our parents that this is what we need to study. But we came to realizations that when we are looking at unemployment in South Africa, I mean, you just said it now, 45.5% of unemployment, it's youth. Right? Obviously, the second quarter stats tells us that we are sitting at 33.3% unemployment rate in South Africa. So the question that I always pose to a friend and anybody else to say, we have a lot of people that are qualified. So out of this unemployment people, it's not the question of that we don't have people that are qualified, we don't have people that have went to varsities and so on and so forth. The challenge is the type of programs that we choose. Hence, we are sitting in this space that we are saying, how do you then begin to change the narrative that says, let's not only encourage youth to study, but let's encourage them to study the career for the future.
Okay. Yeah. And these careers are specifically?
Absolutely. And I will just mention
specifically focusing on, yes, you can mention just a few.
So in resolution cycle, as I've said earlier on, we have set of programs, but we call them trades in our space. But it's programs that anybody will identify to. We've got things like boiler maker, diesel mechanic, electrician, fitter antenna, just to mention few, mechanical engineering, millwright. And we have the other set of the same trade but differently and slightly different. Why am I saying that? It has been proven that the ones that I'm going to refer now, they are really future-proof careers. We talk about your advanced manufacturing, we talk about the optic fiber course, we talk about the PLC courses, the robotics and the likes, solar PFB courses. These are the programs that has been in our own space. When we look at how, we want to, I think strategically to put them out there so that our youth can understand what are we about. I think when we look at the changes in terms of, in South Africa, like I said earlier on, a lot of our youth are not working. In actual fact, just to make an example, we were at Val last week, Wednesday, for career exhibition. A lot of students that came to our table, because it was an exhibition, the question that I normally ask them was, what are you studying? And the thinking around what are you studying, it didn't really come into the fore to explain to me why am I taking this. And the reason why I'm pulling that into the mix is it's very important that our parents, our youth, have a better understanding why it's important that they know the career proving for the future.
I'm not sure about the parents, but I do think the youth, because of being born into a certain era and being exposed from quite a very young age, they can get more exposed than, the parents. I don't know. Yep. But I just want to backtrack a little bit. You talk about when you ask in terms of careers that are studying. So what was the discovery? They're not aligned?
The discovery, and I would be very sensitive to give you a comment that, because I don't want to lean towards being negative towards what people are studying. I wouldn't mention them.
Yeah, no, yes. Because it is not easy and it's very expensive. It is
not easy and it's very expensive. So I think I'm saying this from a point of what I know now, because I've gone through what they've gone through, right? So the sense that I got from what they were telling me in terms of the program, and again, I wouldn't mention the names.
Yeah.
I would know that there's flooded of those immediately now in 2025. And to your point, my assumption was because the youth know a lot of things, and we will think that they know what they need to study. In actual fact, I don't necessarily think they are there, because a lot of them, the programs that they alluded to me, when I was sitting down and back to the office, and we were then debriefing with my colleagues, we then sat down and be thinking, no, none of the programs that we think or we know for sure that in 5 years, 10 years, they will still be appropriate. They're not studying those. And the question is, are we then going to be sitting with a 45.5% of unemployment rate in South Africa youth, which are still in 2025, they are still studying programs that, for the lack of a better word, we would say they won't necessarily be here in the next coming 10 years. And the question is, how do we then bridge the gap? Because I think resolution cycles, thinking into the future, and our mandate and our way of thinking is, how do we bridge the gap? Ospuleng, you cannot say to me in 2025, we're still required to go outside South Africa and look for certain position or a certain for the lack of a better word, let me just say position for now. What are we doing to solve that? What are we doing with the youth that are not working currently? How do we then make sure that the future belongs to those who they need to be adaptable, they need to be innovative, and they need to deliver in the ever-changing world. And these three words, I'm mentioning them very strategically, because if you cannot be adaptive, if you cannot innovate, then what are we talking about? So I think, to answer your question, and I know I took a long way, but I just needed to set a scene in terms of how do we want to bridge the gap in terms of unemployment that we are seeing. What is the current, the future-proof careers that our youth can go for, and how do we then assist them to make sure that they are aware, they know. I always say to my colleagues, these career exhibitions, they're important. We might not necessarily, make profit out of them, but it's almost about how do we make sure that our youth at the village, Kokasi, they understand what career for the future are.
Let's speak specifically about the China's vocational training, which is open to participants annually, often in partnerships with industries and aspects of that model. How can South Africans then be able to adopt, and what are you guys doing to ensure that these opportunities are reached by those that are in need? I mean, you mentioned a lot of things, unemployment, South Africa not being able to nurture talent, so you have youth going to work in other countries as well.
That's a very beautiful question, Ospuleng. So what we've been doing for the past 6 months, we've opened our training center in Johannesburg and in Welkom, to be precise, to say, let's invite technical schools to come to our space for a day or two to get a sense in terms of, if we are talking about Boilermaker, we are talking about FITA, we are talking about all these programs. They are there. They can come, learn, get a better understanding of really, it's almost like a practical part of it. So that, and remember, we start this from a grade 9, 10, and grade 10, 11, and grade 12. Obviously, grade 12 is a bit early. I mean, it's a bit late because they've almost come out of the what do you call this, the school. But what we did was, and I think it's a good way of, encouraging youth to come into the space. We firstly invite them for a day or two, induction and orientation, to get the sense of who we are and how do we things, and to see it immediately. And we then go to different companies, the corporates, to say, do you then have people that we can train? Obviously, then they will be, get stipend and all those type of things. The third one, we have what you call the host companies. So host companies, what do? They take a pool of cohort from our space, our company, Resolution Cycle, to make sure that they've been placed into those companies for a year at least, so that They get stipend, they get practicality, and obviously after that, they are certified, they are credible to start their own company. They are able to employ people from the villages or from Ekasi. I think so. From that point, it becomes then important for people to realize that we're not only teaching, but we are saying, let's show you how we do this. Let's train you practical, and let's then place you into those companies.
Okay. It is now 10:27 Central African time, talking to my guest about trying to kind of be able to afford young unemployed youth the correct skills to fit the era that the world of work, so that they can be able to fit in and hopefully be able to come up with solutions to problems that South Africa is currently facing. And I'm speaking to Mzi Mkushula, who is a business executive at Resolution Circle. All right, so it's you do quite a bit there on different levels. Is this targeted towards youth? Because you speak about companies as well,
yes,
that bring...
Yes.
So it's not just young people.
Not at all, Rospuleng. So obviously our target is to reduce unemployment the best way that we can.
Okay.
So hence my emphasis will be talking about youth. But in actual fact, it's even go beyond that. We have individuals that come from different corporates, different companies to say, this is what I am being exposed to in my company. Right, but there is part of practical that I don't know. Then they will come for what you call work integrated program. So it means you've been working for 3 years. There are certain things that you don't know. You want to come from practical. We can take those as well. Let me just mention 5 key points that I think they are important for this conversation. So we do apprenticeship, we do work integrated learning, occupational qualifications. We do candidacy where we check the gaps. The what you know and what you should know, gap analysis. And then obviously the last one is accelerating artisan of recognition of prior learning. So this program have different, duration. Others are 5-day program. You just come, you want to know, a bit about what you're doing at work theoretically. Others are taking 3 years. Others are taking 2. So it depends. So there's a pool of candidates that we take over and above the youth.
Okay. But now, Mzi, what role do you believe that universities as well as TVET colleges and industry hubs such as you guys play in order to create partnerships, opportunities on the job learning experiences?
Ospuleng, we've started, I wouldn't mention the partnership on air, right? But we've started to do a lot of partnerships with a lot of technical schools in Johannesburg. And really the reason is being exactly what you just alluded to, a partnership. To say, if we have technical schools, technical schools, and we have, students that are doing grade 12, firstly, we need to know in terms of where they are, in terms of their thinking, their psyche, about career development. And we will then say, okay, let's maybe take 2 of those. Let them come to our space and understand, like I was saying to you, understand the world of working. Over and above that, we work closely with SITAs. We work closely with other companies and by the way other institution of higher learning, because we have realized that partnership is the way to go. And I'll make another practical example. There are certain companies in our same space, training development, which we almost like exchange student to say, we have 5 trades in our training institution. Resolution Cycle has 15. So it means we are going to send 5 of our students to Resolution Cycle because we don't have those trades, and we will do vice versa. So there's this couple of partnership that we started doing. Obviously, we are not as mature as we would like to be, but it's a work in progress. We make sure that we do those kind of a partnership.
Right. We still have a bit of time. I was worried in terms of time because I wanted to get to a few things. So at least it's just 29 minutes now before we head towards top of the hour, 11 o'clock. So we can still unpack. When you look at the African landscape, and maybe a little bit outside of South Africa, specifically focusing on the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AFCFTA, they aim to integrate markets. How can South Africa's position then, and the youth, with the youth as a regional talent pool for infrastructure, green energy, and advanced manufacturing, how can we position ourselves as a continent to be able to find gaps in global markets, in AI-driven opportunities, so that perhaps even if we don't always have to take our learners outside of South Africa, we bring the skill within the country. And I'm taking it outside of what you do with your company, because I can hear you're very heavy in terms of what you're doing. But I want to open it up to also inspire other CEOs, not innovators, but people that run programs, and are passionate about creating opportunities. How can we bring talent into South Africa? 2 years ago, it's 2025, 2022, there were guys from Moscow coming to SA to do work in SA. You see, I was like, this is an opportunity that South Africans could be as engineers that could be working, but we didn't have that. How can we bring experts to come train in SA so that opportunities that arise in SA, they can be filled by people within the country? Is it financial that these opportunities aren't as much, that even because if you bring talent, you have to pay the talent, right? And probably in their currency. Or we don't have a lot of use in that space so that others then can tackle that while you're busy with your project.
Sure, Osbulin, that is so profound. I think your question really, one cannot answer it in one way of form, right? Because it's a very multifaceted approach that we need to have. I really think that we've got processes, procedure, and a way of thinking that really talks to exactly what you've alluded to. But I almost think that we need the private sector and the government together to match at some point in terms of these conversations, right? And then the reason why I'm saying the private sector, obviously the government will do what they can do, but they will need an assistant from the private sector and vice versa. Having said that, I just think that there has to be a gap analysis that we need to do as the country, and obviously like with the sector that I just mentioned. And the reason I'm saying it's important that we need to do that, we cannot make an assumption of what the country needs if we don't have a gap analysis, or not gap analysis, we've got an analysis of, to say, what kind of career do we need in South Africa? What do you have a lot? Because this information is there. We have a lot of this information. So my thinking is, as much as it might be expensive to import those skilled, career into the country, let's firstly understand, because we have the same people that we want to pull outside and import them into the country. We have them here, but maybe they might be lacking one or two skills and a certain level of competency, a certain level of a qualification. But I think it's imperative that we understand why those career, or rather those type of individuals, are not employed. Is it a question of you have masters, you've read theoretically, but you don't have the practical part of it? Do you have the practical part of it, but you don't necessarily have a background in terms of theoretical and the right qualification from university or any other institution of higher learning for that matter? So there's those gaps that we need to look at. What pools do we have currently? What is not working? What should work? Because ultimately, people will always say, but South Africa, you cannot import people outside when you have flooded people that are educated. The question that you need to start asking yourself, back to your question, is if they are really relevant in terms of the skill set, So we're talking about the skill set.
Yeah.
We talk about the level of competency. We talk about the mismatch and those type of things. So I think it's a government and private sector to come to board to say, we have this challenge. How do we then make sure that we dissect it and to know exactly what pool of professional do we have and what do we need? And we can then start.
I agree with you there in terms of also maybe majority of qualified people in certain sectors are theoretically trained.
That might be the case.
But not practically trained. It's one of the elements that could be a contributing factor there. Okay, we're going to wrap up our conversation. Okay. Are there specific programs that are set for 2026 and is there a call for entry or an invite for people that would like to kind of then align in that way so that come year 2026 they're doing something at least?
Yes, thank you for that. And I will urge our listenership to go into our website www.resolutioncycle.co.za. They will find everything in terms of the information. But in my last parting word would be, we are open our doors every single day. They can come in person, they can apply, they can send an email, because we are there to bridge the gap, to make sure that our youth, whether South African, into the continent, we are able to assist them. Quick one. I think those are advanced manufacturing that I've said earlier on. Optic fiber course, they are the in thing. Robotics, solar PVA, and obviously AI. I would encourage our youth to go into our website, look at the programs that they're looking for, and if there is any question or there's maybe they don't understand anything, we are here to explain and we will answer their questions, and any form of way that we can respond to them.
If we had a bit of time, I would get into the education system, because if foundation is still, we can't. Education is still kind of wobbly, because it's one thing for me to catch up later on in my education journey, but it's another if you start it from the grassroots. So I think, yes, you're right. There is we need to identify the gaps in terms of talent, but also we need to fix the gaps within the education, especially the foundation phase.
Precisely.
So this conversation unfortunately has to end, because we have to hop onto another one. Thank you so much for coming through. Are you guys on social media?
Absolutely. Yes, we do.
All right. What are your social media handles?
www.resolutioncycle.co.za.
That's the website.
That is the website.
Okay. And you wanted to share more? Do you have more?
We'll share with the procedure. Maybe
no, that's fine. Yeah, we'll also try and put it up on our X page. So I always say to our listeners that for anything really, do keep tabs with us, mostly on X, but you'll find other forms of clippings and information on other websites. So if you don't know, it is Channel Africa 1 on X. It is now 20 minutes before 11 Central African time.